Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the IndieZoNe. My name is Kathy. Over the course of the past several hours, since news broke that a final judgment in favor of plaintiffs, in part granting them the relief that they sought, in part in the matter styled as Laramie et al. Versus City of Moscow, signed October 1st, 2025 by Judge Megan E. Marshall, directing that the City of Moscow was permanently enjoined, permanently prevented from releasing any images of the students and or fluids from the Moscow Police Department first arrivers on scene at 1122 King Road, November 13th, 2022. If you have not yet had an opportunity to review our prior content on this topic, please do. It will provide you details as to what this judgment effectively appears to state. Please note, the Idaho State Police was not named in this lawsuit. It was just against the City of Moscow. The Idaho State Police was invited in by the Moscow Police Department November 13th, 2022 at approximately 12:22 p.m. We know that due to the original report filed by Detective Jeffrey Talbot, who headed the crime scene investigation at 1122 King Road. Sergeant Dustin Blaker of the Moscow Police Department credits the Idaho State Police with locating the sheath. As you recall, the December 29th, 2022 Affidavit of Probable Cause signed by Detective Brett Payne of the Moscow Police Department, lead detective in the case, indicated, page 2 of that 18-page document, that at 4 o'clock approximately, after he arrived on scene and was escorted through the property by first responder Corbin Smith, that he later noticed a sheath lying on the bed next to Madison when viewed by the doorway. There was some speculation, some discussion, conversations amongst the public of what does this mean. Later noticed, what the Affidavit of Probable Cause failed to disclose is that approximately an hour or less after Detective Payne went to Madison Mogen's room escorted by Officer Smith, there was a second visit of the crime scene. This is after a warrant was issued. A group of 5, Detective Payne, Sergeant Blaker, Attorney William Thompson, the lead prosecutor in the case, Idaho versus Kohberger, Ashley Jennings, an attorney who assisted Mr. Thompson as the lead prosecutor in that case for the state of Idaho, and Detective Talbot went through the crime scene, including on the 3rd floor, where Detective Talbot wrote that there was a sheath on the bed next to Madison. Only he said it was on the left side, whereas Detective Payne saw it on the right side. That might be speculating what Detective Payne was saying, when he said in the Affidavit of Probable Cause he later noticed that sheath. The Idaho State Police began their crime scene processing according to Detective Talbot's report after that tour of the crime scene with that group of 5. He started to dole out the activities of who was to do what. And when it was done, there were items that were marked as evidence, one being that sheath. And this report from Detective Talbot says that the students were removed, but the processing of the crime scene continued. It did not end until sometime after midnight. So it is possible that the Idaho State Police has unreleased photographs of that sheath at the crime scene that no one in the public has ever officially seen. If I can make a comment, pure speculation here, opinion just based on the order that was just granted. Please note that it only enjoins the city of Moscow from releasing photographs of fluid next to, adjacent to the students. It does not say anything about once the students have been removed, what might be left, for example, in Madison's bed, including that sheath. And any evidence of it being on that bed for the hours before the ISP concluded their first day of processing of that crime scene, as they did shortly after midnight on November 14th, 2022. And where Detective Talbot said everything gathered was given to Detective Payne. By the time the ISP concluded their first day of the processing and work at 1122 King Road, it was already approaching the first 24 hours, because according to the state of Idaho and law enforcement, the timeline of the crimes began sometime shortly after 4 a.m. These are opinions, comments, rhetorical questions, speculation, purely based on the First Amendment, freedom of speech and of the press. If you have any comments, thoughts, opinions on this matter, please leave them here. Until next time, this is Kathy. Thank you for joining us here today.